There we go. All right. Hey guys, I'm just going to wait for a couple of minutes before getting started. Just apologies, first of all, just have been a bit flat out with senior prize giving and leavers dinner, speeches, a whole lot of things. Anyway, without further ado, we're going to get started today with looking at some quadratics. So what I've done is I'm going to start off with like a really basic question, but I just want to cover like all three different ways of doing this and also a couple of shortcuts of how to solve this. Then we're going to go into a couple of the classic quadratic questions that you'll see. I do apologize, I kind of just only had like 5 minutes to write these questions, so I've just kind of made this up, and we'll kind of work this through, all right? And I'll show you guys how to actually how the excellence questions could potentially come up. Finn, yes, all my live stream tutorials get saved in a playlist, so they'll get saved, all right? So if you do miss it, then it's all right. Just feel free to ask questions later in the comment section there. And then we've got one more question from, I think this is from a couple of years back, but I kind of modified it again. So that's what we're looking at today. So 3 questions. And I want to show you guys how to do it with graphics calculator. Now, if you do not have a graphics calculator, I would strongly recommend it, but I can still show you guys how to do it without a graphics calculator. All right, just to save time, it's I would say it's a really good idea to have a graphics calculator. What I'll do is I'll show you guys with a graphics calculator, and then after that, you guys could actually decide if you want me to show you the algebraic way. Okay. So let's actually get look at the first question here. Now, there's a particular reason why I've actually given this type of question here with all 3 points here, because there are potentially 3 ways you could actually do this question, right? So obviously the first method I'm going to show is by the graphics calculator, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into menu. Let's see if my mouse is working. Yes, it is. It's all right. I'll show you guys with the quadratic a real kind of cheat way of getting the A value real quickly, but don't stress too much about it, even if you don't have graphics calculator, but it's just the solving part of it is a lot easier with the graphics calculator. But anyway, let's go through here. So I'm going to go into my stat mode and put in my 3 values there. So I've got 0 and I've got, so what I do is I put all the x values first, 0, 8, and 4, and then go and chuck in the y value. So 0, 0 is my first point, my second point is 8, 0, and my third point is 4, 8. Okay, so then I click on graph 1, which is F1 again, click on calc, and just make sure you click on x squared, which is your quadratic equation there. Go. So what we have there is the value for A, B, and C. So what I usually tell people is like the first thing to do is just copy down this formula that's actually right here, which is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So that's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to copy that down, y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And in the very next line, I'm just going to write down x squared, x, just like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace a with negative 0.5, b with 4, and c with 0. So negative 0.5 plus 4x, and of course with the c, I don't need to actually worry about it, so just leave it as it is. So negative 0.5 x squared plus 4x. So this is the graphics calculator way. All right. Now, if you don't have a graphics calculator and you've got, do I need to show you guys? Is there anybody without a graphics calculator and want to show something else? Want me to show you guys something else? Like a couple of other methods of doing this question. Okay, I'm gonna quickly show you guys anyway. Just it's just a useful little tool to actually have, and then we'll get started with the second question there. So the graphics calculator method is the one that I've just shown you first. The second method I'm going to show you guys is called the Vertex method, or it's called Vertex Form. So with the Vertex Form, what you want to be looking at is this particular point, because that point right there is called, well, that's messy. That point right there is called a vertex. So what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite this as y equals a x minus 4 squared plus 8. So all I've done is I've grabbed the 4 from here, and then I've actually grabbed the positive 8, which is actually there. Yeah, there you go, Nimish, that's the one. Okay, so once you do that, what we got to do is you actually have to figure out the a value. Now, like I said to you guys before, if you have a graphics calculator, we already know what the a value is. The a value is going to be negative 0.5. All right, so you can just kind of do that if you want to. If they ask you guys to write the parabola in vertex form, then what you can still do is you can actually do this in the graphics calculator, but write this in the vertex form, but then replace a with like this. So negative 0.5 x minus 4 squared plus 8. But let's just say, for this problem's sake, you have not actually got a graphics calculator. Then what you need to do is grab a point. So in this case, I'm going to grab the point 8, 0. And I'm going to substitute 8, 0, because this is the x value, and then this is the y value. And I can actually figure out what a is. So it's going to be 0 equals a, and then you got x minus 4, so 8 minus 4 squared plus 8. So you got 0 is equal to a multiplied by 4 squared plus 8. If I take 8 to the other side, it becomes minus 8. And what I've got is a multiplied by 16, and then a is equal to negative 8 over 16. And as you guys can see, this is still negative 0.5. So if the question actually asks you guys to write in vertex form, then you actually need to write the final answer like this, write the quadratic equation in vertex form. Sometimes I've seen them do that, where they actually ask you to write it in vertex form. But if you're struggling with that, like, you know, I'm talking about if you're struggling with like this entire algebra part, then what you could do is just use the graphics calculator, get the a value from here, and then get the vertex from here, and then substitute into the formula. So this is called vertex form. Now I'm going to show you guys another way of doing this, which is the intercept form. So with the intercept form, what you're looking for is you're actually looking for these 2 points here. And vertex is the point there. So that means in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to write this as y equals a, and we're going to look at the two x values here. So we've got 8 and we've got 0. So we're going to write those two values here. So it's going to become x minus 0 and x minus 8. Spirit, it is highly recommended that you actually have a graphics calculator for this, because some of the problems we do later on, it's like really useful to have a graphics calculator, man. I mean, you can still do it without it, but that means your algebra has got to be really strong, that's all. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing as what we did before, but we're going to use a different point in this case. So we're going to use 4, 8, because that's the point that's given. And what we're going to do is substitute 4 wherever x is, and then the 8, we're going to replace it with y. So when we do this, we're going to get 8 is equal to a times 4 minus 0, 4 minus 8, and we've got 8 equals a times 4 times negative 4, and then 4 times negative 4 is negative 16, and then a is equal to 8 divided by negative 16, which is negative 0.5. So once again, you guys can see we're still getting the same a values with all three format there. Zaddy, like in your exam, you are actually allowed to use a graphics calculator. Only for the MCAT, you're not allowed to use a calculator. But for tables, equations, and geometric reasoning, you can actually use a graphics calculator. It's allowed by NCEA. But again, I mean, if I've shown you guys a couple of methods here without the graphics calculator, and if you're good with that, then you can stick with this. Spirit Demolisher, yes, I do. Go to my homepage and go to the playlists. There's like graphics calculator tips, the Casio graphics calculator tips there. So you can actually watch, I think there's like 7 or 8 videos there. No worries, Eddie. You're welcome, man. All right, guys, are we okay with this? And can we actually get onto a word question so you guys can actually try and actually do a couple of word questions? Or at least, we might not go into full word questions, but at least try and... what if you don't have a graphics calculator and there's no clear turning point intercepts? Henry, usually with a question like that, they will have to give you like they will have to give you 3 clear points. All right, they have to give you 3 clear points, otherwise it's very hard to actually come up with the equation. Mix, what I'll do is I'll actually I got a VO question that I haven't actually done yet. I might actually do one real quickly with you guys. No worries, Bob, you're welcome. Okay, I'll tell you what, why don't I give you guys a question. This was sent in to me a couple of weeks ago, but I just haven't had the time to actually get to it. I think it's this one here. Actually, more than a couple of weeks ago. Just haven't had the time to get around to it. I will leave this question up here for you guys. Why don't you guys try and do this? And whoever this person was, I need to let them know that I'm doing the question here. So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes. Just have a read through the question, draw the diagram, and then get me the equation for this, all right? Joseph, Joseph Henry, which school are you at, man? Just curious how far these videos are going. Maliha, I don't get y in the vertex for 8 was substituted for y because isn't x equals to 8. Let's go back to that question, just trying to figure out where Well, Scots College, I'm not sure where that is, Joseph. Maliha, which part are you talking about, Maliha, here? Rings a bell, God's chest. Oh wow, nice, Wellington. Yeah, funny story, that one. But I'm gonna go back to Maliha Faris. You had a question there. I don't get why in the vertex for 8 was substituted for y because isn't x 8. If you're looking at the intercept form, maybe I shouldn't have used these 8 numbers, but the 4 8 that I'm using to substitute is actually from here. All right, so that's why it's getting shifted there. Sorry, yeah, I'll go back to the question again. It's hard to work with multiple screens, but there we go. Okay, now you got a Maliha. Okay, sweet S. If that's the case, I might actually delete. Let's actually delete this. You guys just keep working on this. I'm just sorting out a question. Yes, Brush, I will be doing a few more streams. I'll probably be doing some in the afternoons now because my senior students have left and I've only got a couple of classes. Okay, I'm hoping you guys had a chance to actually go through this question. If anybody got any questions, just chuck it up. Let's try and figure out where people have got it right and people have got it wrong. So at the entrance to missile farm, there's a string of lights hung in the shape of a parabola. So basically, my parabola looks like this. The entrance is 6 meters wide. So that part there is 6 meters. Now it says the lowest point of the lights is 4 meters above the ground. The height at each side of the entrance is 5.5 meters. So from there to there is 5.5 meters. So once, I'm hoping this actually makes sense to you guys, because if this makes sense, then the rest of the part becomes literally pretty straightforward. Because what you can do is, and I guess this is something that you guys need to realize as well. Like, look, there's actually multiple answers that you can actually get for this question, because it really depends on where you decide to put the origin. When I'm talking about the origin, you know how you got the x and y axis like this? So if this is the x and y axis, then this point right there is the origin. Now, any one of you guys could have your origin in like multiple ways, all right? So because, like, for example, what I mean by that is that you could have your origin at this point, which means your x and y axis could look like this. All right? Someone else might decide to go, I'm going to have my x-axis, like y-axis here, and then x-axis here like this. So, you know, it's potentially it's possible that you guys can get different answers depending on where you decide to put the origin itself I'm talking about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of put the origin at, let's see, I'm going to put the origin right here at the corner. All right, if that's the origin right there, then my y-axis is like this, and then my x-axis is like this. Jonathan, you can. I will actually show you guys how to get to that as well. Yeah, a lot of you guys are getting 1/6, we got 1/6, and then you got 1.66. Anyway, let's try and figure out what happens, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the first point here. The first point here is 0 and 5.5. And my second point here is 6, 5.5. And then this point, halfway of 6 is 3. So that's going to be 3, 4. Which means my equation now is I'm going to use the vertex form for this. Y equals a times x minus 3 squared plus 4. And I'm actually going to show you guys the long method, all right? Just because it's just good habits to actually use the long method rather than the graphics calculator. So I'm going to use 6 and 5.5. So I'm going to substitute 6 for x, and then 5.5 I'm going to substitute for y. So I'm going to get 5.5 equals a 6 minus 3 squared plus 4. Rearrange it. So I got 5.5 take away 4 equals a times 3 squared. Now 3 squared is 9, so a times 9. And then 5.5 minus 4 is 1.5. So a is equal to 1.5 divided by 9. So I don't just go 1.5 divided by 9. Okay, you're getting that. just make sure you click on F to D, because what that does is it converts the decimal into fractions, which is 1/6. Joey, haven't actually decided yet, but maybe we can, maybe tomorrow on the weekend, man. Like I'll figure out some times, and I'll let you know. So this equation is 1/6 x minus 3 squared plus 4. Sprash, it's a really good idea to just use fractions for these kinds of questions, especially when you get recurring decimals, because what happens is sometimes if they have a follow-up question, when you have a follow-up question with the decimals, you can be off, your answer could be off by like a couple of, I don't know, units. So just be mindful of that, that's all. Okay, you guys want to try another question like this? Okay, so this one I kind of made up on the spot, but it should still work. And while you guys are doing this, I will try and edit the next question or have a look for another question. So this one is a bit of an extension for this. You gotta, graphics calculator way. Sure, but I'm just gonna write down the points from the previous question. I think it was 0, 5.5, 3, 4, and what was the other point? 6 and 5.5. So if you want to use the graphics calculator way, just click on, go into stat mode, which is that one there, and then just we got to get rid of all of these things first. So just click on delete and just get rid of all those 3 values, and then just type in 0, and then you've got 3, 6, you got 5.5, 4, and 5.5 again. Joseph, we did exponentials in my last tutorial, so if you just go back to my playlist, you can find all the exponential tutorial that I ran last. Okay, now we click on graph 1, calc, and then just click on x squared for the quadratic. And then there you go. That's your equation there. Daniel, yes, this is an alternate answer for the last question. Now, again, as I said to, who was it, Spash before, writing it as 0.17, like it's a good idea just to go back. Like if you want to know how to convert, see how it's like right now it's 0.16666 like this. If you want to know how to convert that into a fraction, what you can do is just click on, go back to a main menu, just go to run, and just type in like this and press enter. And what it should do is it should pop up like this, and then there's a little button here called F to D, which converts from fractions to decimals. So you click on that, and then it tells you what the fraction is. So Daniel, you can actually do that, but just don't write that 0.17. Like do what I've just shown in the graphics calc, like how you can actually convert it to a fraction. Josiah, I think just on top of my head, ABC button. Click on the ABC button. So press like, I think you have an ABC button like this in your scientific calculator. So you should, if you press that, I think that changes from fraction to decimal. Just, I don't have a scientific calculator in front of me, so I can't tell you, man. Yeah, F to D button. Okay, yep. Sweet. Cool. So next question. I forgot to actually say that this was supposed to be a rocket, but because I had a diagram. Anyway, it's all right. We will actually go just keeping up with the Guy Fawkes theme at the moment. We got a rocket that gets launched from the ground. It reaches a maximum height of 10 meters after 20 seconds. When does it land? And what times is the rocket at a height of 7 meters? So I do apologize, guys, because I kind of had a diagram before for this question. But basically what we have is a rocket is getting launched from the ground. All right. Now we're assuming that it has a parabola shape. All right. Now it says that it's reaching a maximum height of 10 meters after 20 seconds. So that's 20 seconds. And then that's 10 meters. So the first question, I kind of kept it really simple for you guys. When does it land? Now, remember that a parabola is actually symmetrical, which means if this part from here to here is 20 seconds, then we can assume that when it lands, it's also going to be another 20 seconds. So the first answer is fairly straight. We can just go 40 seconds. It lands after 40 seconds. But the next question I'm asking you guys is at what times is the rocket at a height of 7 meters? All right, so in other words, we've got 10 meters there. So 7 meters is roughly there, which means we want to know what these 2 points are. Sarah, I think you can actually just show straight by GSOL for that one. And that's why you need a graphics calculator, because the second part of this question, I'm going to show you guys how fast you can actually do this with a graphics calculator. Because to try and do this without a graphics calculator, it's a lot of work. So that's why you definitely need a graphics calculator for this. Yeah, guys, that's actually a good point here. Could you guys just keep the chat for questions, please? Because it's a bit hard for me to try and keep track of all the conversations that are happening, and people have got some important questions. All right, so let's have a look at how we're going to do this question. All right, the thing that you need first is you're going to need an equation for this parabola. So kind of breaking this parabola down, I need a different color here. Let's go with the blue color here. So the first point I'm going to work with is 0, 0. My second point that I'm going to work with is 20, 10. And my third point that I'm going to work with is 40, 0. So 0, 0, because after 0 seconds, it's at a height of 0 meters. My second point, after 20 seconds, it's got a height of 10 meters. And then my third point, which is after 40 seconds, it has a height of 0. So those are the 3 points that I'm using. So it's going to be 0, 0, 20, 10, and 40, 0. So what you can do is put this in the graphics calculator, put these three points in the graphics calculator. Uh, 0, 0. 2010, my points looking good. Yep, that's all fine. Graph 1, calc, and x squared. And I think this one is a much better one. Alex definitely makes it more convenient, man. Josiah, I will put that up on my Instagram page, man, like when I'm doing my next tutorials. It's just I was really busy with the last 3 days with a few things at work, so I just didn't have time to actually get around to doing any YouTube stuff. Cool. So what we have is we've got the equation. I'm going to write down that equation first. We've got y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, and I need to, now I'm going to have x squared and x, but let's see what else have we got here. So negative 0.25 and positive 1. Of course I had to do it like this. So now that's my equation of the rocket itself, right? Give me 1 second, guys. Just need to pick this up. I'll just chuck my where is it? There we go. God's chess, that's the one, man. I usually put up on stories on what time I'm doing tutorials. Usually I try and give like 6 hours notice at least. What working do we have to show if you use a calculator to get the working like that? No, you don't need to actually show any working there, Mahanur. You can go directly from the graphics calculator to that. Yes, Zaddy, I can show that to you. So as we were talking about before, Zaddy, you could actually use Intercept Method or Vertex Method. I'm going to use Vertex Method for this example. So my vertex is 2010, so that's my vertex. So I'm going to write this as y equals a x minus 20 squared plus 10. Then I need to substitute a point. So I'm going to use 40, 0. You could use 0, 0 as well. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to use 40, 0 here, which means 40 goes there for x. And then 0 ends up going there for y, which means I'm going to get 0 is equal to a. X is 40. So 40 minus 20 squared plus 10. Rearrange the 10 to other side as minus 10 equals a times 20 squared. So you got negative 10a, and then 20 squared is 400. And then a is equal to negative 10 over 400, which is, I believe, it should be negative, same, negative 0.025. LMLN, if we have some time later on today, we can have a look at a question. Sprash, I wish I could answer that question, man, with linking to real life. It's just, I'll be brutally honest with you guys, like last year's exam was just, in my opinion, it was probably one of the toughest ones that I've seen in a long time. Minus cat, you don't have to show your working if you're using graphics calculator. You can actually go directly here. Some of them these questions are made up, but like some of them I make up from NZQA. But then, like, if you guys think about it, like over last year's paper, they just changed it completely. How did you end up with 280 and negative 40? Oh, you're trying to prove that 7, aren't you? Okay, going back to this question, guys, we still haven't answered the question. All we've discovered is we've just discovered the equation. All right, because we've only done the equation, we still haven't answered the question. The question asks us, like, at what times is the rocket at a height of 7 meters? That means what the question's asking is, what is the x value when the y value equals 7? Because if you think about it, now this rocket is going like this. That's 7 meters there. So that's one time, and then there's a second time, which is there. So there's actually 2 points that's going to end up where it's going to equal 7. So we have our equation. Our equation is y equals negative 0.025 x squared plus x. And what we also know is that we can say that y is equal to 7. and we are going to try and find what these two x values are. Yes, all the live streams get saved, Ashley, to the playlist. I think there's a playlist right at the start of my homepage. Jonesy, that is, I think you'll have to use quadratic formula, which is at level 2, man, because unless I haven't actually messed around, because I kind of just throw these questions up and I don't know if they actually work out. But anyway, so two things you guys can actually do here. All right, now I'm going to show you how to solve this in two different ways. The first method I'm going to show you guys is by obviously using graphs. The second method I'm going to show you guys is by using algebra. Now the graphs method is not too bad. Like, just see what happens here. So I think we already did this, right? When we go to stat, and you know how we already had all the equations up there, and I think we already did graph calc x squared. This part, I want you guys to get to this part of the screen, because once you get to this part of the screen, there's a little button here called copy. All right, you click on copy, and what it does is it asks you what you would like to copy it to. So I'm going to copy it to y1 and then just press enter. And let me just check if this works, because sometimes I know it hasn't been working. Yeah, I knew this wasn't going to work. Well, that sucks. I think it might actually work for you guys, because I know there was some problems with that copy, but it's all right. We're just going to clear this and just, what I mean by is, like, let's go back to main menu, go into the graph menu, and then in here, just type in your equation. So just type in negative 0.025 x squared plus x. And then if you click draw, you should see what the graph actually looks like this. Now, to figure out when it equals to 7, just put down 7, just 7 by itself for y2. Nice, Siva. I think that's what somebody else got earlier as well. So once you put these two numbers, like the quadratic in the top line and then the number in the second line, click on draw, and you guys can actually see the 2 points where it's actually cutting the parabola. Now at this point, just click on GSolve and just look for ISCT, which is the intersection points. So it tells you the first intersection point. You can see that when x equals 9.04 seconds, the height is 7 meters. And then just click on the right button. It gives you the second point, which is at 30.95 seconds. Ah, that's what. Thanks, Regan. I know I've always had that issue with this calculator. Oh, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I've always been trying to figure out how it actually never works out. Josiah, no, it's not Josiah. It's actually pretty easy, man. There's only like, I think I've got a playlist set up for graphics calculators tips. I'll chuck it up. Give me a second. I'll find it and put it up. There's only like, I mean, if you do like 1 or 2 problems a day, you'll remember the steps, man. It's fairly easy. Let me find it. Ah, there we go. This is the playlist. So Josiah, if you do have a graphics calculator, then you're good, man. Just stick with normal stuff. I mean, don't kind of stress yourself too much with that. Oh, Jonathan, to have that line going through it, what you have to do is, in your graph menu, you put the second equation as 7. Sarah, I think you can. Let me just find that out. That's another way. True, you could. Let's try that. So if I go draw, go GSolve, and then where is it? Oh, xcal. Y is equal to 7. Yeah, you could do that. That's also another way you could do it as well. So if you guys missed that, what you do is just go into, if you don't put that 7, then what you could do is just click on that graph as it is, and then click on Gsolve. There's a little arrow button here, click on that, and then this xcal here calculates x value. So if you click on that, it'll say, oh, enter y value. We put in 7, and then you press enter. There's your first value, which is 9.05, and then your second value, which is 30.95. Yes, Aaron, it's on my head, man. Like, when was the last time I ran an algebra? I thought I ran one fairly recently. Let's have a look. Well, I did run a calculus one, man, 5 days ago. How do I make my graph smaller and my calculator? Good question. So what you guys can do is there's a little button called zoom, which is F2. You just click on F2, and then if you zoom out, so click on F4 and just press enter, and then it just zooms out. Does that help, Regan? So press F2, which is zoom, and then you press out, and then press enter. Very old school, these calculators, by the way. I mean, I was using this calculator 20 years ago. Yeah, Sarah is actually pretty much on point here, because this view you'll see this little F3 button, which is the view window. You can click on that, and you can actually adjust how wide you want your x-axis and how tall you want your y-axis to be. And then that's another way that view window is like, let me put it like this. It's like saying, like, if I put x min as minus 100, right? I'll show you guys. And then I put maximum as 100. Then what it means is that this point right here is minus 100, and this point right here is positive 100. So if I go back on view window, and then let's say for y minimum, I change that to like minus 25, for example, and then maximum I change to 100, then the origin would have actually moved down. Like, see, because minus 25 is here, and then that's positive 100. So that's what view window does. So yeah, it is actually very, very useful, the view window there, just to help you guys. Sometimes it doesn't actually solve, like if you put it in there, but I want to show you guys one other method. All right, if you're panicking a bit with the whole, kind of like messing around with the graph, and then you go, okay, that's just what were the two answers that we got? I've actually forgot the two answers, but I wanted to show you guys one other method. That's why Gsolve xcal 7. So it was 9.04 and 30.95, right? And what was the other one? 30.95. What I will show you guys is this. I want to show you guys one more way of doing this, and this is absolutely fine. You can actually do this method, and it's probably a little bit faster. What you do is you rearrange so that one of the sides is 0. So I'm going to have negative 0.25 x squared plus x minus 7. And then when I do this, what I can do is, I don't think you guys would have actually used this yet, but if you have, this is really, really useful to have, is go into menu, go into equation, click on that, and see how there's this thing called polynomial. So click on F2, and then degree 2. So see how it's A, B, C? Now we've got our A, which is this value here, B is 1, and C is negative 7. So I'm just going to put that down. So negative 0.025, B value is 1, and C value is minus 7. And when I do this, I click on solve, and I get both of my answers right there. Nah, Zeddy, you can't, unfortunately. I think you'll have to use quadratic formula for this. That's partially my fault, man. I just picked a really hard question. All right, in your exam, you might get like nice numbers that actually work out. All right. So how do you change mode on graphics calculator? What do you talk? I'll just find. Let's find out, Jonathan, because I've actually not tried it. If I go F3 solver, right? Let's try it out. So negative 0.0025 x squared plus x equals 7, right? Let's try that. Now, see, it's only giving that one answer. It's not giving us the other answer. I was just trying to find out. Sorry, Moy. I was just trying to find out at what point. So if you go back to the question, where was the question? At what times is the rocket at a height of 7 meters? So that's why we've got 2 times. All right. The first time was like, was it 9 point something seconds? Yeah, 9.05 and 30.95. Okay, guys, I'm going to give you guys a nice simple one to finish off the night on. Question number 3. Very similar to the first question that we did, I think, today. I think that's where I got that question from. And while you guys are doing that, I'll see if I can find a nice excellence question, but I don't think we'll have time today. Yeah. Now let's just finish off with this question. Uh, 2 meters is the height of the black bar. .9. Yep. No, it's not, Ashley. You still got 2 weeks. Yeah, Zeddy, you can use that 1.9. You have to. All right, guys, I'm going to start working on this question now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, as always, I just like working in corners. It just makes it really easy. So I'm going to use this corner here as 0, 0 as the vertex, which means my y-axis looks like this and my x-axis looks like this. So the first point that I have is 0 and 2. And then this point here is 8 and 2. All right. And the A value is going to be 1 and 1.9. Now, the reason I actually said it's 1 is because the Christmas lights are actually spread evenly, the red dots. And if you look at it, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So that's how I know that the A value is at 1, 1.9. So if you're using graphics calculator, this method is probably the best way to do it. All right, which means, but if you're not using a graphics calculator, I'm going to show you guys how to actually do this without a graphics calculator as well. Yes, Josiah, you absolutely can get a merit even if you don't answer the excellence questions. So I've got my 3 points, which is 0, 2, 1, 1.9, and then I've got 8, 2. So I've got y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And now I just need to work out what my equation is. So go into menu. And what have we got? Go into stat mode. 0, 2. And then 1.9. And 2. This is 1 and this is 8. And x squared graph. So as I told you guys, this would be... I'm going to come back to that in a second, Jonathan. So I'm just going to write this equation down. Give me a second there, John. So A is negative 0.14. Plus, no, minus 0.114x, and then plus 2. So, Jonathan, the reason why we're ignoring the 0.4, 1.6 is because that we don't know whether it's actually hanging at 1.6 or not. Because if you look at this, I mean, this kind of statement here is that the lowest hanging Christmas light minimum requirement of 1.6 meters. All right. And what we're trying to figure out is we're trying to figure out the equation. Once we figure out the equation, then we can actually figure out what this height is. All right. And then see whether that's actually 1.6 meters or not. Thank you, Sarah, for putting my words in a better way. That's exactly what I was trying to get, but it's just too late in the night. So the point that we can use 1 and 1.9, the point A, is basically from this statement here. The first Christmas light at a height of 1.9 meters. Long day, man, long day. I've been up since like some 3 o'clock this morning, so. Okay, so now we've got to actually try and figure out whether this actually works or not. So that point right now, going back to Jonathan, you actually wanted to, you actually said it was 4, 1.6. But what we've got to do is we've got to actually substitute x equals to 4 and figure out what y is. Because that's going to tell us what the height of that the lowest point of that Christmas light is. So we got negative 0.14 times 4 squared minus 0.114 times 4 plus 2. So putting this in the calculator, menu. Actually, oh yeah, I'll just show you guys this method first. 0.014 times 4 squared minus 0.114 times 4 plus 2 equals 1.32. All right. So what that tells us is the height when the fourth light, it's actually was it positive 0.14? Did I mess that up? Oh no. I did. Sorry. Let's go plus. Get rid of that 1.32. Thanks, man. So we just go back. So 1.768. That's even better. What have I missed here? Yeah, well, sorry, Jonathan. He's not going to be saying hello for a while. My moderator has shut him down. Is there another way to do this but using the graphics calculator? Are you talking about the substitution part or the getting the equation part, Daniel? Yes, Zaddy, that's absolutely right. Yeah, we just found the vertex, and we found that the vertex is actually at 1.768 meters, which means this design is acceptable. As minimum height is 1.768 meters. So you just write like a little statement like that. Yeah, actually, that's what I was going to show people. Thank you, Sarah, for actually bringing back. So where was it? When you guys get that equation, right? X squared. Do you just go draw? Yep, draw. And then you can click on, where is it? Exit. And then go whoa. So once you get to draw, right, like I'm talking about this point here. Let's just show you guys again from the beginning. So this is the part you go graph, you go calc, you go x squared, and then here there's that little button there that's draw. So you click on draw and click on shift, and your Gsolve button comes back. So click on Gsolve and see how it says ycal. Click on that, and I'm getting something else. Why am I getting something else? Why can't I see x equals to 4? Because I've seen x equals 4 before. Why is it not working in this? What am I missing? Just enter 4. Is that it? There we go. Yes, Tempest, I will actually put that up there. So, okay, you did it that way. All right. Yep, that actually works as well, Sarah. So here's the other way that I kind of worked it out to show you guys. So where are we? Go to calc, do your x squared part. Okay, so from this screen, you click on draw. All right, when you click on draw, this thing pops up, right? Now click on shift Gsolve, and it pops up with a ycal right there. So if you click on ycal, in my calculator, this is what it shows up. It shows up with something called regression. But if you just type in x equals, like if you just click on 4, this screen automatically pops up, and then you press enter, and it gives me the 1.77. That's a really good point, because our answer here was 1.768. So if you go into copy, you're talking about copy, right? Go into graph. Stupid condition. It could be just a rounding error. Rounding. That's what it is. Because it's taken the full value there. So I think that's what it is. It comes down to rounding. Yeah, I rounded the number in Zaddy, just telling you, for this question number 3, you can't actually do vertex form. You can only do intercept form. Because remember, you don't actually know what the vertex is. You're trying to figure out the vertex. So, and that's what I wanted to show you quickly, Zaddy. I'll just show you at the bottom here. So see how the diagram looked like this, right? So for the vertex form, what I would do is I'd actually put like this. So that becomes 0, 0. That becomes 8 and 0. All right. And then the point A there, because it was 1.9 and that was a 2, so it's rewriting it like this, where you're saying this is going to be negative 0.1 and this is going to be positive 1. So that A value is going to be 1 and negative 0.1. So it's relative. So this is how you do it with the intercept form, Zaddy. All right, guys, it's hitting to 10 o'clock. Thank you for joining. Now, just in terms of the next session, I'm just writing a list of kind of like what you guys want to see. If there's any particular questions you guys want to ask, I can actually get some questions for it for the next stream. So do you guys have any questions? Just let me know. I'll just put some notes. Jonathan, the reason it's negative 0.1 is because, if you think about it, do you remember how in the, I'm just trying to get that original diagram. The original diagram looked like this, where this was 2 and then this was height of 1.9 meters. So if we're going to go backwards, it's going to be 0.1 meters to cover that 2 meters. So I think the pole was like 2 meters. And then you had 1.9 as the height. So the remaining part is going to be 0.1. But if we go, when I press draw, then shift, there is no option for G-solve. Good night, Matthew. No worries, you're welcome. I can try, Ashley, but strongly recommend it, man. Daniel, could you just tell me, are you in graphs mode, or which mode are you actually in, Daniel? Did you say sketch trace? I think I know what happened. Give me a second, mate. Let me just try one here. So you're saying that sketch, oh, that's really weird. So you don't actually have a G-solve button. No worries, Sarah, you're welcome. Oh, this is in stat mode. Okay, let's have a look. If you click on trace, like shift, I'm getting a G-solve button here. So I'm not sure. No worries, Liam, you're welcome. It'll be tomorrow, God's Chest, but it won't be level 1 tomorrow. It'll probably be level 2 or 3. Just need to figure out who I need to work with. Okay, Daniel, if you don't have it, what you can then do is just copy the graph. Like, you know how we did with the previous question number 2 where we did 7? Jonesy cube 1 over 70x minus. No, I don't think that would actually work there, Jonesy. Oh, wait, hang on, let me check. Would it work? I think it might actually work, Jonesy. I'm just looking at what you've done there. So x minus x plus 2. Why the plus 2 though? That's the part I'm not understanding, why you have the plus 2 there. No worries, Joe. You're welcome. So Daniel, going back to your problem, what you could do is write the equation as it is, like just copy the equation and then go down to graph and then use the graph mode there to try and solve it, all right? That's another way you can do it. See you later, man. See you, daddy. Zaddy. It's an interesting name. It's because I've moved it up 2 from the intercepts as they are y equals to 2. Give me 1 second, man. I just want to try and get that equation from that you've done and just see what it looks like. Uh, 1/70. Oh, you've moved it up. Right. I see what you're trying to do. Yeah, that actually works perfectly fine. Who was it that wrote that? Jonesy. That absolutely works fine, man. Good night, guys. Good night. See you later. Yeah, Jonesy, that's perfectly fine, Jonesy. That works really well. Yeah, I see what you're trying to do. Just intercepts and then moving it up by 2. I was thinking the opposite way. That's all good. Guys, any requests for next tutorial, or should I just kind of come in randomly and just do another tables equations or geometric reasoning? I know people have asked me about geometric reasoning, but there's only one question that I'm absolutely sure it'll pop up, which is the bearings one. Do a merit level question. I think some of these questions are merit questions, Drago. Okay, Daniel. So for you, going back, what I meant was like this. So you know how you go into stat mode and do this part here, right? Blah blah blah. You got your equation. Just click on this copy button. So click on copy, and then copy it onto graph function y1. Then go into the graph mode, and what happens is that your equation's already drawn up there. But the problem is it literally has taken so many values. Now see this little x here? You've got to delete that x and replace it with this x. I think that's what I ended up making a mistake last time. I hope this works, because I know sometimes it doesn't. So delete this x, put a new x. So now I can draw it and I should get the graph, and then I can click on Gsolve and start doing all those working out parts. Where are we? Whoa, I missed a few things. Zfinity level 2. I just did one, man, 5 days ago. I did a tutorial 5 days ago. Yep, Jonathan. Okay, maybe that's something that we can add up. No worries. You're welcome, Ashley. Oh, chance and data is out of me, man. That ain't me. Drago, I will actually save this video, man, so you can actually catch the repeat of it. Could you do geometric reasoning next time? Oh, level 3 calculus. Level 3 calculus, I think I've got something happening tomorrow for calculus. What have I got for calculus? Next tutorial. Yeah, this is what I was going to do for calculus. I know a few people were asking me for differentiation. Josiah, just keep an eye on the Instagram page, man. I'll chuck it up, because I usually... Yes, of course, Jonathan, you can send me questions, man. Just send me questions. Yeah, easily. Just send questions. It's easier. I just haven't had, like, as I said to you guys, the last couple of 5 days has been a bit crazy. But I should be back to making some more videos for, like, user questions, people that send questions. I've got a whole list that I need to do. I just haven't had the time. But I will get to it. And I know you guys are under pressure as well, and so we'll get it done. All right, people, any other questions, or are we calling it for the night? So the request was geometric reasoning. Graphics calculator, Drago, very useful. Instagram. Where is Instagram? Give me a second. I'll just grab it. So yeah, usually what I do is I just put up when I'm doing a tutorial, and I put like 6 or 7 hours warning for the what do you call it? I'll just put it up on stories so you guys can just keep up with it. No worries. You're welcome, Virat. If you don't have a graphics calculator, I hope you're good with algebra, Drago. Yeah, I don't even know how many I've got there. Yeah, 65. There you go. Oh, 70 is it? 70. Yep. It's the same symbol that I use, man, as the YouTube channel. All right, guys, if that's it, I shall stop the stream. There's so many, Drago. It's just like, it's you gotta learn how to do your linear, quadratic, and exponential. Go check out my exponential tutorial that I did last time. Like, I'll put up a link. Give me a second. Where is that playlist? So, tables, equations, and graph. So Drago, check out this playlist that I've just put up. Like, that playlist has a lot of some of my old stuff on tables, equations as well. So it covers linear, exponential, and quadratic. But I try and do questions that are like, kind of like common questions that keep coming back. But last year they changed the paper completely, so I've got no idea what the paper would look like. But yeah. Hello, JM. Yes, Spirit, I do. I thought I put it up earlier, but give me a second, I'll find it again. I hope that one works. Can you continue after draw, then G-solve? Where did I leave, man? Sorry, buddy. Daniel. Draw, G-solve. What were we trying to do for this question? We're trying to calculate y, right? So just click on ycal, and then just put x equals to 4. And if you do that, it gives you your y value. Is that all right, Daniel, there? Sorry, man, I've missed that. All right, guys, that's it from me anyway. catch you guys later. I just put it up on the Instagram page next time, like when I'm gonna come back for level 1. I think I'm doing level 2 and 3 for the next couple of nights. And yeah, just keep practicing those exam papers, yeah? I shall catch you guys later. Don't worry, Spash, my moderators sorted that out, and some people are like that, man, don't worry. And by the way, I'm Indian, mate, so don't stress. All right, we're out. See you guys later.